All right, we're live. Mike is hot. Don't say anything you might regret, Chris. I'm just kidding. So today, guys, we got a real special guest. We got Chris Crothers on, who you played D1 football. You have over 100 units in rentals, and you just closed out a $236,000 wholesale fee month, and you've only been doing real estate for 2 years. So it's pretty freaking spectacular. So basically, we're going to dive into a little bit about Chris's story. Nothing more than maybe a couple, like 5-10 minutes. And then we're going to get into the real value. We're going to be talking about how to grow a 7-figure company in 1 year. So he's only been wholesaling for 1 year, which sounds absurd, but has done multiple 6 figures in a month. So he's going to talk about the things he thinks, the 5 most important things he thinks in order to get to that 7-figure run rate annually. So Chris, appreciate you being on the show, man. Glad to have you here.
Appreciate you guys. Truly life-changing, Gino and Chandler.
Yeah, life-changing. Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the biggest impact we made?
Truly the organization and the mindset of how to manage and truly align what your beliefs are to your goals, and then also how you can track those on a numerical value. That's been huge since I've joined you guys. Obviously, the KPIs were such a huge part in the decision making in my business that I think is going to take us well beyond 7 figures, and see you guys do it along the way as well. So
yeah, super stoked, man. Definitely been great to see your improvements every week. So it's also just so you guys know, we do one-on-ones with Chris. Yeah, he's a beast. So anyways, Chris, so you played football in high school. I mean, where do you want to start your story? Like, how'd you start your high achiever journey? Like, where'd that kind of start?
yeah, so I would say I'm probably 99% the same as everybody else on this call and or goes into entrepreneurship. I think everybody that wants to be an entrepreneur probably isn't a trust fund baby. They've came from either a middle class and or the poor class here in America. And I think that stigma of having to grow up that way sparks a fire in you, and you want to do more for not yourself, but also your family. So that's truly the backbone of who I am. Coming from the Midwest here in Indiana, the farm boys, if you want to call it. But family is our priority here in the Midwest, and being raised off values but not being raised off much was something that always gave me the ambition to be more. I always wanted to be more through athletics, obviously D1 sports, always being obsessed with football, played down for Ball State here in Indiana as well, but also wanting to give back to my family since we didn't grow up with much. Other than that, I think there isn't too much. I grew up with an amazing father, with an amazing mother. Grew up with a sister, and my family life was always there. Great family backing, but financials never were. So that's kind of where I think going into our next topic of what does it take to level up? Where does it take you from maybe being middle class and or poor class? How do you create a business worth of value and start a legacy, especially at a young age? And I think that comes from a huge mental shift, mindset, limiting beliefs that you have to eliminate in order to take that next step. And it might be the biggest and hardest step that anybody could take in business.
Yeah, I think your mind is always going to be your limiter. If you believe you can't do something, then you definitely are never going to do it. Like Hermosi was talking about in a video I was watching. I know we both love Hermosi, and he's like, what you think comes true usually does come true. So like, if you believe you're going to be rich and successful, you probably will. That's just kind of the reality. So like, what would you say like were some of the biggest things you had to get through on your journey to where you're at right now? Like some of the biggest hurdles, limiting beliefs you had.
Yeah, so I try to stay on the tip of the iceberg with it a little bit. So my apologies if I do get a little emotional. But like I said, definitely a middle class to poor class family growing up. Always had what we needed, but never had much to enjoy the true qualities of life that money can offer. And kind of where I got involved in real estate. Growing up, parents did end up splitting when we were younger. I was in about the 3rd grade, still love them both. They just had different beliefs, I believe. But we did lose a lot of homes, always had to move constantly. So father had to go through a foreclosure, bankruptcy ordeal. That was really, really hard to see. I was a little bit older when all that happened. early years in high school, so I still remember it very well. It wasn't like I was a baby. My mother hopped around between, I couldn't even tell you how many rental properties, and having to deal with, really shitty landlords, and seeing how she was treated, even though she was, a really great woman. Um, so when it comes to what was the biggest spark in me, is I never wanted to be in that situation, whether it was with my family that I have now, or with my parents, my siblings. I never wanted to see them go through that. So how do you eliminate that from ever happening? You learn how to be a master at real estate, whether that's making money in real estate and or finding different ways and creative strategies on how you can get people in those situations out of them. And I love that. I love the ability to know what people are going through, whether that is a foreclosure or bankruptcy, and knowing that at this stage in life, I can help them because I know where my parents were and where I was at a certain time, where you just never knew what was the next step other than just, hey, we're losing our home, we got to move. So I think that's the true backbone of why I got involved in real estate, and why I will always have a dire passion for it and will never leave this industry, just because I know I can leave a huge footprint and impact on this world in a very positive way. And I can save a lot of people a lot of pain and grief through going through those situations.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. It's definitely like interesting always to hear people's backstories. Like everyone comes from so many different like parts of life, and then you all kind of end up in the same realm. It's like it's cool to see how everyone aligns. I do think that one thing that you probably share is just the mindset and the willingness to win. Um, how would you like? Do you think it comes from like wanting to win so bad, and like literally like your drive just comes from making sure your family never has to go through like what you had to go through, or do you think it's more of just like an external, like I just am striving to be better, or like is it just mainly like your motivation come from your family?
I would definitely say it's a family backbone, and having the understanding to never ever get put in that situation again. Because we do live in a very uncertain world. Obviously, anybody on this call that's either interested in real estate and or involved in it know that things can change at a rapid pace. Whether you have a seven-figure business, whether you haven't even done your first deal yet, you're always doing this for probably a financial reason, but that financial reason can come with bigger stipulations behind it, whether that's family, whether it's some sort of illness that you're going through and you're looking to get out of it and or get better treatment. And real estate offers that. Real estate offers so many different paths. You can make money in this industry in a million different ways. It's probably one of the biggest headaches for a new investor to get involved. You never know which path to take. But it goes back to one of my favorite sayings. And I know Hormozy says this quite often. We are a big fan. Chandler and I are. You have to look on a big horizon. This isn't an overnight success. You aren't going to become a millionaire overnight. But when you delegate and you look on the big horizon, hey, I'm going to do this for the next 10 years, and I'm going to keep doing the exact same things to get me where I want to go, you are going to live an exponentially great life at that 10-year mark than if you just look at it for like, hey, I'm going to become a millionaire in a year, and if this doesn't work, I'm going to switch up and go to e-com. And that's just the hardest thing for anybody to gain traction, and that's in any business venture you go in. So I think with why I do this and what my passion is kind of feeds into all those aspects. I understand that, hey, you can start wholesaling today and make seven figures. Obviously Chandler's a prime example. I've done it in a year, but while you evolve, you can make well beyond seven figures in many different aspects of real estate. The game is never ending. My passion with real estate is the same as it was for football. You can always excel. You can always get better at certain different strategies, whether that's an out route, an in route, and football terminology right there. I was a tight end, so blocking was a huge technical job on the field. But real estate and business is nothing different than that. So direness to willing to win, I think that's in every entrepreneur. If you don't have that, you're probably not going to succeed. But
Yeah, I think Elon Musk said that best. Is like someone asked him like, what if you need motivation? He's like, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur.
you're probably not on this call if you do need motivation. So you guys are obviously wanting to get to the next step, and that's why you listen to these, and you're in a great spot following Chandler and Gino.
Yes. So Chris, appreciate you sharing that. So I think the second part was, and you alluded to this, is I think you just kind of grew up as being an empath. And that kind of relates into understanding like your next point, which as far as understanding the psychology of a seller, how would you say, like, talk a little bit about that? Like, what do you mean psychology of seller interactions? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite sayings that I tell a lot of people looking to get in this industry. There's always a fear, and I think it's fear based when it comes to talking to sellers and or what to say in certain situations. And I like to say this to anybody who's new and or experienced, is you never want to put yourself in the seller's position. And I think this is tough for a lot of people because as a society, we look at how can we empathize with people? Hey, this happened to me. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. But then you can kind of route yourself into a deep hole. You don't really know how to get yourself out, and you start going down a bad path when it comes to negotiations and sales. So I like to tell people is don't try to put yourself in their shoes. Just have an understanding of how you can implement your strategies, your techniques, your solutions to solve their whatever situation they're going through, whether it's needs, whether it's foreclosures, things like that. And that's something a lot of people I feel like get wrong in this industry. They just want to empathize so much because as a society, that's what we do. And I understand when I say that maybe you have gone through a foreclosure instance like I have. You watched your parents go through it. Maybe you went through it personally if you're a little bit older. Maybe you've had to deal with a fire property. Maybe you had to deal with a divorce in your life. Maybe you could give insight on those situations. But as a whole, when you go down that route and trying to connect and or relate to those people at that level, you might just dig yourself into a deeper hole where the psychology gets a little bit more messy. At the end of the day, guys, I think we're trying to focus primarily on real estate and the property involved, not the situations they're going through. And when you do that and you know how to handle real estate and also have a positive impact on whatever their life situation is, you're going to be in a good position. And I know that's going a little bit on not too much in depth because I'm talking some terms here. I'm a big creative real estate guy. So when I say, certain situations, I could be talking about subject to seller finance, but, trying to keep it simple, cash offers, MLS pitches, because I know that's what you guys are pumping out there. So.
Yeah. So with that being said, it's like, so you're kind of taking their situation. I'm just trying to reframe this for everyone else and to maybe give a different perspective. Is what you're telling us is you try to reframe it to where you understand what they're going through. Not that it's almost like the sympathy side of it. Like sympathy is like looking down the hole and saying, oh man, I'm sure that sucks. And empathy is like going down in the hole with them. So like, and I don't know which, that's maybe a bad analogy, but regardless, it's like you're kind of understanding where they're at, understanding what they're going through, and then trying to create a solution that is going to solve their pain. And usually it's through the medium of real estate. If I reiterated that correctly, I think.
Correct. And, you can relate this back to, my favorite book of all times on how to win friends and influence people. You don't have to be sympathetic and or empathize with people that are going through situations. But if you show them that you are just listening and absorbing what they're saying to you, you're going to have a really big impact on their life. And that's where everybody wants to speak up, especially when you're new at this. I was new on the phones and doing this as just myself. Man, I just wanted to talk. Well, that really got me nowhere. And I know a lot of, successful people out there get to a point where, if you're truly listening to people and being invested in what they're saying, and you're able to reiterate what they said, show them that you're listening, show them that you do care about the words that they are giving you, you're going to leave a bigger impact on them, which is going to allow them to want to work with you, and you're going to have a better connection. So when I kind of relate this, you don't have to empathize. You don't have to put yourselves in seller's shoes all the time. You might just confuse yourself and them. Just show them that you are listening. And that's simply just by, hey, take the back seat, let them talk, ask the basic questions that you have to, and just see what they give you. And that's a really hard thing, I feel like, for a lot of new beginners out there and or experienced salesmen. And that goes across any industry. Everybody just wants to talk all the time.
Yeah, I think like probably one of the biggest things is just like if you get asked a question, even only just like practicing to answer it as if it's a question. Also, I think we got a question here. What part of Indiana are you working in?
Right. So we're down in Indy and then also up in South Bend. So Carmel, definitely looking to link up with you, my man. You can always find me on my socials as well, which I'm sure I'll share those at the end. I'd love to connect and see what you got going on.
For sure. So like with what you were saying too, Chris, is just talking about like sales is like, I think like any time you just run the conversation, you have to control this conversation, but you can't like be the bull in the china shop who's the only one talking and yada yada yada. It's like you listen. So tell me this: what are you listening for when you're in conversations with sellers?
I'm trying to control the narrative around the property, and that's where, to clear it up, kind of what I'm saying, don't control the narrative around the situations. Rather, just how can that property be a solution, and how can your company offer it with the property involved? Because obviously we're out here, we're giving offers. Whether you are a creative guy, you're offering subject to seller finance, whether you're pitching the MLS or you're just a cash guy, how can that property be the main topic of that conversation? And everybody's life situation is different. I mean, you can talk to sellers who simply don't have a issue with the property. They just want to move somewhere to a different part of town. Obviously, there's not much to work with there other than just, okay, what numbers can we break down to make this a win-win situation between the both of us? But I feel like in our industry, as real estate investors, you're going to come across, I would say 90% of the time, distressed situations, because that's kind of what we're marketing to. People that are either out of state and this property is a headache to them, they're going through a divorce, they're in a foreclosure. But when you get into those situations, it's easy for new salespeople to make that the topic of discussion in that conversation. They're making the foreclosure the main topic. And that is just not a good way to get to the root of how you can offer a solution, because your topic of discussion is going to route down foreclosures and pain rather than, hey, this is what I can offer you to get you out of it. But the property is involved. So that's going to be through some sort of offer. And here's how my company can input our service to you. Because at the end of the day, we're a real estate investor, but we really are a service company, you guys. So
that's a fact. Like, definitely a service company. You're here to make it the easiest. Like, what are we selling? Like, why would someone even sell it for a discount? It's because you give them a simple process. They can say, I sign here and I just got to fill out like one more piece of paper and I got to go sign at closing, and that's it. That's what you're providing these people. You're not providing them, like an agent where they got to be on call with their house on a lockbox 24/7. That's not what we're offering. So with what you're saying, Chris, I completely agree with it. Do you have anything else you want to add on psychology of the seller in this kind of situation?
Yeah. So, with psychology of sellers, and you can use sellers, you can just look at this as a situation as you're going out on the town and you're looking to find your new girlfriend. Guys, every situation when you're talking to a new individual in life really does have to play the same. And if I can stress one topic, it's just being a good listener. Be invested in what they're saying. If you haven't read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, go pick it up at your local bookstore and read it. Because one of the best topics that book teaches is if you can learn and master the art of just rephrasing what somebody said to you right back to them when they pause, your connection rate with them is going to go 75% plus. That sounds so simple to a lot of people, but a lot of people are always thinking about what's the next thing that I'm going to say while that person's talking. You don't have to do that. That is the one way to not show anybody that you're interested. So when somebody's talking to you, whether it is that girl at the bar that you find attractive or that guy, whether it is the seller who you're calling because you're interested in offering a solution or a service to the property they own, just focus on them in the moment. And that is just so key. And it's something so simple when I say it, but it's something a lot of people do not focus on and get really confused on, is they're just thinking about, okay, he said this, well, I'm going to offer him this. Or you guys are caught up because you're not too familiar with what your numbers are looking like. You're kind of confused on, oh, is this the right offer? I don't know if he's going to say yes to my offer. Don't worry about it, guys. Just let it flow naturally. Real estate doesn't have to be an intimidating game. There are billions of sellers out there who are willing to talk to you. You can mess up on 100 of them. You just need one yes to change your life forever.
That's facts. That's well said. Another thing too is like Chris, you bring up the point of like just reframing what someone says. Is a lot of times when people reframe what you say, your normal response is just like going deeper into what you were talking about. Like, oh, Chris gets what I'm saying, so I'm going to tell him more because he seems like he's interested.
They give you all the facts, and all you got to do is say exactly what they just said to you. It's so simple when you think about it. But literally, if you don't say a single word of your own creation, you just say what they're saying back to you. I'm telling you guys, that conversation is going to give you more details about that property, about how you can offer your service to their situation faster than you going in and saying, and trust me, I say this with a big heart because this is exactly what I did when I first began. Hey, Is it a 3-bed, 2-bath? What condition is this thing in? Hey, what do you think what do you think the repairs are? Like, guys, that's beginner stuff. Just focus on in the moment on what they're willing to give you, and then just reiterate it, and they'll just keep giving you more and more and more. And to where it's one of my favorite sayings of all time. This is another Hormozy thing. The longer you delay your ask, the bigger your ask can be. In our line of work, the bigger the ask is usually the slash of the price. It's usually the more lowball offer. But if that relationship's there, that rapport's there, I'm telling you that lowball offer that you give them is going to resonate and not be such a slap in the face for them. And you might just land yourself a life-changing deal, a 6-figure deal.
Yeah, and what Chris just said too is like one of our mentors actually, he's like everyone talks about the MAO. I really think the conversation should revolve around the LAO, the lowest allowable offer. Like, how can you just lowball them so far down and it'd be acceptable? And like with what Chris is saying is basically how to not get kicked out of a house, how to not get hung up on is you got to have that relationship. So what Chris is giving you right now is straight gold. So definitely go in and implement this as soon as you can on every one of your sales calls. So Chris, I appreciate that. I think that was great stuff. So I want you to talk a little bit about going and networking with other individuals, like, because it's kind of daunting to get into this space when you know nothing about it. How did you go about, building your network of people, learning what even is an ARV? What's this? Like, who do I sell deals to? Like, how do I buy a house? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so I'm going to speak on my true beliefs on what I would do if I started from ground zero tomorrow. And this is something that, once again, it goes back into fear. Real estate, when people think about real estate, they're like, that's so complex. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, though, you guys. There's been people in this industry that have been doing this for 30, 50 years, and maybe you're getting started on day one. Why try to figure out what happened in 50 years when you can just go to the person who's done it for 50 years and say, like, hey, I have some questions. Can I take you out to dinner? Can I take you out for a cup of coffee? Can I try to offer value into your life any way that I can? Everybody has a different background. My background is different from Chandler's. It's different from Gino's. It's different from probably everybody's on this call. You guys can all offer each other something completely different than I could even offer you. That is the most quality aspect that you can give to anybody, any value you can give. Everybody has it in them, I promise you. When it goes to networking or getting started and gaining traction, I look at it as a ladder. You're not going to get up to a higher place. You're not going to get to that better view in the city unless you go up a ladder, one step at a time, right foot, left foot, one after the other. It's a slow process. This does not happen overnight. But when you build traction and you find the right connections, these people are going to pull you 50 years closer to your goal overnight. Now, you got to think about that. The average life expectancy in America is like, what, 80 years old? Maybe I'm completely off there, but that seems about right.
I think it's fairly close, like maybe 78.
Yeah. Guys, why waste 50 years of your life trying to figure out what you need to do to become what your idol has already done those past 50 years when you can just go to them and they can give you the recipe? This was such a daunting task when I first got started. I felt like I needed to have a huge portfolio. I needed to be having millions of dollars in my bank account to even go ask people, like, hey, how do I do this? But and this is so funny when I think about it. I went to a seminar out in Las Vegas. Pace Morby was there. He's one of my early mentors. I just always looked up to that guy because I love the creative aspect coming out of college, never having any money, things like that. I was like, oh, I can get into real estate with absolutely nothing. Oh, come on, let's go. But when I saw him in person walk past me, the first time he walked past me, I didn't even ask to even get a picture with him because I still felt like I was not enough. And then he walked past me again and I said, well, hey, the universe is telling me something. I stopped him and I just told him how I felt. I told him how he's changed my life. I told him how he has been one of the biggest impactors on my life and my family as well. I've actually bought a few of my family members some properties that they can live in creative ways, seller finance subject to, nicer homes than they probably could have ever lived in. So he's really impacted not only me, but my family, which means the world. The guy's awesome. And it just felt so intimidating to even ask for a picture. And that was it. Why is that? That one connection has changed my life just from a social standpoint. Imagine if I knew him in person on a personal standpoint. There's people all around you in this industry that can be that solution for you, can get you where you want to go. So look at it as a ladder and don't be afraid to look at who's at the top of that ladder and just ask them, what you can offer, and if they can give you some advice. One tip of advice, once again, can change your life forever. I promise you that.
Yeah, I think that's extremely valuable. So, Chris, why would someone? All right, before one second, I'm gonna answer that in a minute. So, why would someone who is at the top of the ladder even like want to, pull you up, give you all your secrets? Like, what? Because like that, in theory, like it sounds so easy, but we all know it's not. Like, just we're not gonna go and help anyone out there. So, like, what are some things someone can do in order to give some value back and have a value exchange?
Yeah, so let me clear this up on a super simple point. The biggest leaders who have ever led this world, whether you are a religious person and you follow the Bible or whatnot, or whether you follow somebody in business, one of my greatest all time, like I look at him like he's a god, is Ray Dalio. Obviously, the largest hedge fund operator to ever exist. The guy has accomplished so much in life. These people put all their secrets and recipes into a book. Why is that? Why do they put their whole life teaching into a book for anybody to look and read into and learn from? The people who have gotten to a point in life and they've already gone through the rough parts in life they had to figure it out on their own are more willing to give back at such a big impact. They want to leave their footprint, their impact on the world, on a younger generation, so they can carry those same principles, one of Ray Dalio's books, principles, through the next 50, 100, 80, whatever years. They just keep carrying on and building them and improving them. The greatest leaders in the world have always done this since the start of time. They write books to share all their secrets. Why would somebody in your local town, at your local investor meetup, on social media, not want to do the same? And if I'm telling you guys, if they don't want to leave that impact on you, they're not the right person for you. Just keep going out there and asking more people to be your mentor, to give you some advice. There are thousands of people out there that will do it. I don't know how to clear that up any better. It's like the biggest leaders in the world give all their secrets in books. Anybody out there who's gotten to a certain point, especially older, I found this in my personal life, older people want to see younger generations so invested and so enthusiastic because it reminds them of themselves at one point and it sparks a fire in them. You might just add another few years on their life. You never know.
Yeah, I want to add a couple things that's gonna like further support what you're saying, because it's like completely true. It's like the one reason why everyone is where they're at, like if they're at the top of the ladder, the only reason they're there is because someone else helped pull them up there. So they
100%.
want to give that back. Like it's literally almost a duty of being at the top of the ladder.
100%.
Now, the other side of it too is Hermosi talks about it. I got to stop bringing Hermosi up, but Alex Hermosi, Alex Hermosi said he's like his last phase of life was all surrounded about making as much net worth as possible. He wanted to stack net worth. That was his goal. That's how he made every single decision. His next phase of life, what he's saying right now, his purpose, his mission is to have as much goodwill as he possibly can, because he wants to basically give, like Ray Dalio does, like how he wrote a book and people for hundreds of years can go and read his principles or the way he sees the changing world orders, all those different things. You can know exactly how Ray Dalio thought in 2300 or whatever year it is. So that's like his goal. And that's what these people who are super successful, what they want to do is like they're trying to break down, why am I successful? So I can give the next generation. The floor is where I ended. How can I make that their floor?
Yeah. So, and I think when I've met people who have net worths hundreds of millions, if not billions out there, one of the key things that they all have in common is they always say that they would give any amount of money to go back to when it was ground zero and hustle mode. There's a value in that I have not yet seen. To be honest with you, hustle mode seemed to be one of the hardest times of my life. I went through some times. I mean, another personal story. This sounds crazy. Over a year ago, guys, when I was just getting traction, I had no money still. I mean, I was donating plasma to pay for my marketing money. And that just seems so hard. Like, why would anybody want to go through that? But I guarantee in 50 years from now, I'm going to look back and be like, damn, I wish I could make another drive to that donation center, because that's where it started. That ambition, that drive started there when I was in pain, when I was suffering, and it created the man that I am at that point in life. And it wasn't because of the suffering, everything that made me to that person was because of that suffering. And I think there's a value in that. I haven't seen it yet. I don't even really know how to to emphasize on it. But every rich person, especially older generations, say that like that's what they would pay to go back to. I mean, Hormozi's like 30 years old and he says the same damn thing. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like one of the good ways you can frame this is, with what you're saying, Chris, is like, would you trade lives with Ray Dalio, with any of these billionaires who are like 80 years old? The answer would be no, because your life's already over. So it's like the youth is what we're living, and like that's like the greatest time to be alive. And all I know is like because I can't put it into context either. I mean, I'm 23, you're 24. I'll be 24 actually in about a month. So I'm stuck. I won't be 23 anymore. I got to leave the club. But it's it's weird. Like even just looking back a few years, it's like, oh, those were so much fun. That was so much fun when we were just grinding. We'd stay up all night just working on like, how do we map out this, or like learning how the business works, and putting it all together.
Yeah, and I think
it is nice. It's fun to look at.
To sum it up, I just did a video on my Instagram today about this, and the best way I can sum it up and why the people have those beliefs at a certain age, at a certain point of success, is money truly is a denomination of time. It's the equal. When you look at money, whenever you would get even $1, when you have to trade your time, whether that's in wholesaling, whether you have a 9-to-5 job that you show up to on a daily basis, you are trading a percentage of your life for $1, for currency. That is what blows my mind. You have to factor in what amount of money is necessary for you to write off a percentage of your life. Entrepreneurs have a fire in them that they look on a bigger scale. A 9-to-5 job that pays you $50,000 a year isn't worth giving 40 years of your life away for. It makes really no sense. But as entrepreneurs, we have this spark in us where we want to amass millions. I think that, or have a huge impact. You can look at currency and or value in your life as far as money. You can get a lot of money and give it back and change a lot of people's lives, or you can stack it for yourself and enjoy a comfortable life and give to your family, friends, whatever it might be. Money is a denomination of time, and you have to write off a percentage of it in order to get it in exchange. So anybody out there who is thinking about being an entrepreneur or wants to change their life and have more value in it, just look at that as a perspective of how much of your life are you willing to give in order for a certain amount of money. Personally, me, I love real estate. So I'm giving time away every day to get money from real estate. But I have a bigger impact, and I probably will never stop. That's the other thing about real estate. I think you can do this till you die. I mean, it's just one of those things that's so interesting. So
yeah, I think it's like being like a high achiever person, entrepreneur person. There's just something in you where it's like, I gotta keep, like, I realized this a couple years ago, and it's something that you said, like right now, like your motivations change over time. Like right now, it's like setting your family up in a year from now and 2 years from now. Once that's done, it'll be something different. Because like you have these goals, and me and my buddies talk about it all the time. It's like we chase this goal to get this massive dopamine hit, and the next thing we know, we're like sad and like, oh my god, what's going to be next? And it's just like an endless cycle of just these being like an adrenaline dopamine junkie and setting these massive goals just to go and get there. So one of the things I've done, well, I'll rewind a little bit too about like why I came up with this. And I've actually like recently heard Tony Robbins talking about it, but I had this goal of when I was a freshman in high school that I wanted to be a state champion in wrestling. And like I literally had wrestled for like 3 days in practice. Like, oh, I told my coach I'm gonna be a state champion my senior year. And then I did it, and like literally it happened. I was like, oh, that what feels like nothing. Like I was like, literally, this was like not even that cool of a moment. And it was like pretty like sad time of life just because there's like no other goal. So what I realized is like, if you make your goal progress, and literally what you find fulfillment in success, and like you kind of gauge your life on is progress, then you literally never can not have fulfillment, because all you got to do is just make progress in something every day, which I think potentially is why that we're so addicted to keep going and going and going, and probably will never stop.
yeah, I love that. And I honestly, like, that just like sparked, gave me chills just hearing about that. Like, focus on progress. And this is another key point that, especially the new entrepreneur can focus on is never, and a lot of people will say this in the industry, and maybe I just heard it because of the people I followed while I got started, is never do something for a dollar amount. So like when I got started, really a year ago when I started wholesaling, like my goal was I wanted to have $100,000 in my bank account. Kind of the same thing with your state championship. Like once it happened, it was like, well, that really isn't that cool. Like, And I think when you focus just on progress, the money will come, guys. The leisures will come, the quality of life and or the stress-free, the financial freedom that a lot of people will call it will come. But progress can never end. And you can have progress in a positive way and or a negative way. I encourage everybody to be positive. I think obviously if you're on this call, you're on a positive impact on progress. But there's many aspects in life. I could probably go down a rabbit hole on certain things that can lead you to really good progress and or take progress away. It's one of my favorite sayings too. I believe this is a this is an Ed Milet thing, which is I have a book behind me, the Power of One More. And he says this, he's like, his father battled addiction, was an alcoholic, things like that. And he's like, you can do something for 100 days. You cannot drink alcohol for 100 days and say you are sober. But on that 101 day, if you decide to take a sip of alcohol, you start back at ground zero. And I think this is so huge for entrepreneurs, and that progress cycle is you can never stop it. And you'll see this if you're a new wholesaler, and this is just from experience that I went through, is when you're new in it and you don't have much money and you don't really know what to do with that money. So you start throwing it at marketing because you think, oh, texting is going to work, calling is going to work. Oh, I'm going to pull this list, and you run out of money and then you can't market anymore. You got to go find some more money. Guys, that kills your progress. It kills everything to where you have to put a delay on it. So it's so huge. You can look at this from a marketing standpoint, a life standpoint, is when you want to get somewhere in life and you want to make progress towards that goal, that objective, you literally cannot stop because you will go back to ground zero. And it's pretty scary. It's pretty intimidating. So maybe that's a little too extreme. Maybe that's how I view it. But I think some of the most successful people, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, view it in the same way. And they're at a point in life where I think I'll believe anything they say. So they're the business gods. Just like, hey, if you say it, man, it's legit. So
Yeah. No, they're definitely got some good stuff. I would agree. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. I think that was great. Okay. So Chris, what about you? So getting back to kind of like going from, getting to a company from 0 to 1 million in 1 year, like there's obviously more work that needs to be done than just you doing the work. So who did you delegate your work to? Like, I know we talked about like the who, not how. Like, talk to me a little bit about like how you see other people leveraging time.
yeah. So as a Midwest blue collar family raised individual, and I would say that's the majority of America. The ultimate saying that couldn't be more further from the truth is if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. Guys, that is the killer to a business. It's the killer to your success. It's the killer to where you want to go. If you do everything yourself, not only might it take you your whole life to get really nowhere, you might get a little somewhere, you might make a little bit of money, but you're never going to focus on the bigger picture. So whether you want to look at it from, you want to be at the top looking down, or you just want to, hey, I want to get myself out of making those cold calls or handling those texts or talking to sellers on a daily basis, and I want to focus more on maybe raising money. You have to look at what's needed to get to that point. So that was a huge transition for me with being the sole person in my business a year ago to getting to the point where like, I just want to focus on raising money and then trying to like grow us as a company. And that truly comes down to, you have to make that first hire as soon as possible. And this is a big misbelief that I had, is like, I needed money to do that. Guys, you can go out there and hire people and base them off commission and give them more money that they can make at their job they're at now. This is so crazy when you think about it, is you can hire an acquisition rep in your company today just on commission, and you give them leads to call. Guys, they can make more money doing that than they're going to make at their 9 to 5. And I guarantee you it. I don't know another acquisition rep or job out there for especially a 20 to 30-year-old that you can go out and make $10,000 a month on a consistent basis, and you don't have to worry about paying them salary. It's just based off their performance. So obviously this goes and boils down to a bigger spectrum. Is like, hey, you have to find people who are motivated. You have to find people who have a personal drive. But that's on you as a business owner. You have to gauge those. And this is another huge thing. Guys, not every hire you're going to make is going to last. Not every hire you're going to make is going to be that ultimate guy. You might have to let them go in week 1 because their values aren't aligning what your company's mission statement is. So if you're new or you're just getting started, go out and sell your vision. Sell where you want to go. I'm telling you, if you can get people bought into you and the mission that you have for that company, that is going to take them and take you to a much higher place and gain your company, gain your traction, grow your team much, much faster than a money value ever could. A huge, huge thing that I've been looking into recently is your emotional paycheck in your company has to be bigger than your financial paycheck. You have to sell the vision on the company. You have to get people to buy in. And this goes not only to hiring, but it's also going to feed into when you have to raise money, which is probably, I would say, the number one objective in real estate investing. So your who, not how is so important. I literally can't stress it enough. And it's just, I'm speaking with a passion because of it, is because I waited more than 6 months to ever pull that trigger. And if I just would have done it right away and understood that I didn't need money to do it, I just had to sell my vision of where I wanted to go, I would have been able to gain a lot more traction and probably be a lot further along in the past 12 months.
Yeah, I like it. I can definitely sense the conviction right there. And honestly, conviction is one of the most powerful things. So like, I think that definitely some people who are watching this will, if they don't already have someone who is a commission only acquisition guy, or even a lead manager, someone setting you up appointments where you have the best opportunities to go out there, you should go do it right now. Like that should be your sign to go and find someone in your network who's maybe a good athlete. Maybe they were good in school, whatever they were doing, they were a successful, like high achiever type person, and then pitch them the vision of what you want to accomplish and how they can fit into that. I think that's money. I love that, Chris. So
yeah, and I'm gonna give you guys a little gold key right here. And this is something that a lot of successful people will go out there and you'll hear them say is like, if you cannot clearly define what your business is and the mission behind your business, then you don't have a business. I think that's really, really key as a business owner. So that was one of the first things. And trust me, it doesn't have to be perfect, you guys. You can create mission statements. You can create the sole purpose of your company. And that can change over time because it will always change, and it always should change while you evolve, while you grow. But I'm going to give you guys something that you guys can use today to start telling people about what your company is and how you can clearly define it to them if they have absolutely no clue what wholesaling is. You can say the word wholesaling, and they're going to be like, what the hell is that? So use this. I'm going to use it on my my wording because it's my company's name, but input your company's name at the beginning of this. And it goes like this. And if I ever see anybody, this is what I tell them my company does. Neighborly Solutions is a real estate service company that allows homeowners and investors to buy and sell real estate with transactional ease. If you can clearly define that to anybody you come across, whether it is a seller, an investor you're trying to pull into your company, guys, that is just clearly defining, hey, they're a company, a real estate company that handles transactional eases between buying and selling for homeowners and sellers. It's clear as day. That's all it has to be. Don't make it more complex, and sell that to people. If you're selling it to a new hire, just tell them like that's what you do and you can make a shitload of money. If you have a track record, show them it. If you don't, just show them other people in the industry that are also doing it. There's tons of people out there on socials that show the financial rewards if done correctly and with enough enthusiasm.
mm-hmm. Yeah, just like the conviction of like, this is what's possible. Like you're selling, like, it's kind of like even on dispo, like selling a flip, like this is the opportunity. Like I'm selling you this vision that's not really a thing yet. It's like, do you have KPIs that like say like exactly how much I'm gonna make? No, like if you do this, like you make this many calls, you make this many offers, like you should get this many contracts, which would make you this much. And like this is what other people are doing. But I mean, you're gonna be the first one to take a crack at it. And I know you can do it because I'm gonna give my all for you. And like if you sell it with the conviction of where you're gonna go and how you're helping people and how it's gonna better them, then they're gonna get behind you.
Yeah, and one of my favorite sayings, if you guys are struggling with that connection piece when it comes to anybody you're interacting with, especially if you're new, I'm speaking out of conviction, like Chandler's saying, is it's so intimidating to first get started, to take that first step. But a tip of advice I can give you, and this is one of my favorite sayings, once again, I'm going to go back to how to win friends and influence people, is that you can make more friends and more connections in 2 months than you can make in 2 years if you are just genuinely interested in the other individual. Be bought into what they want. If somebody comes to you and you hear them talking, maybe you're out with friends and they're just like, man, I want to make more money. Like maybe they want to buy a car. Hey, I want to buy this $80,000 car. Guys, they can do that in your company. Just sell them on how they can do it. Give them the blueprint on how they can do it. If you give them that, I promise you, They are going to be bought into what your vision is. And then over time, you can just guide the ship on how they can get where they want to go. But you're also going to be achieving success on your end as a business owner. Put the people on the ship and then guide the ship. Don't try to guide it and then have nobody on there. You're going to be doing way too many jobs.
Exactly. I like it. I like it. Be the man who's making sure the ship's going in the right direction. You're not rowing that boy. Obviously, there are some emergency situations where you might need to go row it, but overall, you're guiding that boy.
That's the beauty as a business owner, though. If you got to hop back in, that's key. That's awesome.
Yeah, it always happens. It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. So, like, even this week, just one of our dispo reps, she's out on vacation, so I'm like having to take over her files for the week, which is just like I forgot how much little BS there is in all the things, and it's kind of fun. I'm like, dude, I'm getting hit with all these problems. Like day before closing, they're like, oh yeah, we can't do it. I'm like, oh shoot, like we got to figure this out. Lender, whatever.
You can learn ways to improve your business as well, just by getting back and getting involved in those things. Some things that you see missing that you can improve your systems and processes just by being involved in them. It's huge.
Yeah, exactly. Like the phone system, like for example, one time was like not ringing right. It's like why do it ring and like hang up immediately and no one's told me for like a year, just like stuff like that all the time. I'm like, come on, bro.
Where?
All right, so Chris, let's finish it up here. The last thing you wanted to go over were the tools you need in order to grow a 7-figure a year company.
Yeah, and primarily to get to your first 6 figures on a consistent basis. And guys, I'm going to give you the biggest secret, the biggest recipe on how to do this. It's probably going to blow your guys' minds. It's nothing more than the cell phone you carry around on a daily basis. And I truly say that with a true fact behind it is that cell phone can make you 6 figures next month. How so? It feeds back in just getting invested in other people, whether you're new, whether you're finding your struggles to gain traction. Start having conversations with people that are already in the industry. One of my biggest tips that I can give you, if you have no money, you're looking to get started, you're looking to get inbound leads, which those are gold, something that I have not focused enough attention on as inbound stuff. We've been primarily outbound. Start calling, especially right now, start calling realtors, start calling probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, and sell them exactly what I told you, that you're a service-based business, that you can offer transactional ease. That's kind of the whole basis behind what we're doing here. Sell that to them. Let them know that you can be an asset to them and have them start bringing you leads. You can do this with literally just your cell phone and Google. You can start calling the numbers that are right on there and making those connections. If I can give any advice on outside of that type of stuff, it's just hone in on a certain niche. Once again, there's so many things that you can get involved in. You can focus on the cash offers. You can focus on the MLS pitches, which I've become a huge believer in lately just because of Chandler and Gino and what it's done for my company. But I got started and built over 100 units in rentals, gave me a lot of cash flow, just understanding how I can offer subject to and seller finance and becoming a pro at it in my first year. That stuff, that certain little niche, was able to give me a financial freedom aspect of my life that I would have never imagined in a very short amount of time. So become obsessed with anything that you're trying to do. Focus on one avenue, one lane, head in that direction. Don't veer off of it. Do the unordinary, do the mundane task on a daily basis to get you to success that are proven. If you follow Chandler or Gino, they give you guys the tips of what you need to do. Focus on those. Do them on a daily basis over and over and over again for an extended period of time. You guys will gain traction, gain success, and live just truly an awesome life. Like, buy into yourself, buy into the industry, become a pro at it. Don't be out there just, throwing around offers and being sloppy. Be a professional in it. Make a good name for everybody else that's out there doing it right now as well. And just start asking people how you can offer value, whether that's attorneys, realtors, and or other people out there in the industry that are already having deals that maybe struggling with some dispositions, things like that. That can get you to 6 figures really fast. Once you hit 6 figures, you can start making really business-like.
But before we go into like the 7-figure side, I want to make 3 points super. I want to recap them because I think they're really good stuff. Is one, we're in a time where there's more resources at your fingertips than ever before. Your cell phone is connected to Facebook, to Instagram, I wouldn't say Twitter. I just wanted to use 3, but Facebook, Instagram. You have all these different places on YouTube. You can go and learn everything, anything you want to do, just figure it out, figure out what you want to learn, go get after it. And like Chris said, is a great way to do it for free, no money. Just call agents, get them to send you deals, sell the transactional ease money. Number two is you said, do the boring work. Do the boring work. I think that's something, and that kind of goes to my third point, is like the consistency. It's like just doing it over and over again. So if you do the boring work that you're laying a brick every single day, you're going to eventually build a house. And eventually, if you want to build a second house, you just lay more bricks. And you just eventually do that over and over again. It's not fun. It's not pretty. It's not glamorous. There's no secret tip that's going to make you wealthy and make this work. It's just going to be doing the boring work and doing it every day and over and over and over again. So I just want to reiterate that, because I think most people really think there's a secret when there is no secret sauce. It's just, there's just sauce. And
I'll give them one secret, and it's one secret that I always kept in my back pocket, and it's what led me to doing my first $50,000 deal. And this, guys, is not going to cost you probably any money. It might cost you some gas. If you have a bicycle, you could ride that. I'm just talking on where I came from. Like, I literally from ground zero, you guys. Like, I did not have a medical sales job. I didn't have some job before this. I got out of college and was like, I am not doing a 9-to-5. I refuse to do it. I'm going to make this work. And this also feeds into a huge saying, and it's the biggest belief I've ever had. Never, ever have a plan B in your life. If you have a plan B, it means you're not 100% committed to plan A. That's an Ed Milet thing, and I will go to my grave with it. It might be on my headstone. Who knows? But if I can give you a secret, this is how you can get to your first deal and or have a huge pipeline of deals coming into your business on a monthly basis. Go to your library, or if you have a printer at home, draft up something that looks nice, something about your company, staple it together, put it in a binder, whatever. Go to your local property management offices that are out there in your city and your county. Take it to them and let them know what you are trying to do. Let them know that you're the professional, whether you've done your first deal or you haven't at all. Let them know that you're the professional. This is what your company does. If they ever are working with the seller that's looking to sell, that you have to be the guy, that you're the guy to come to, because you will buy that house and you will make it happen with transactional ease. If you do that, I promise you in 2023, you will make well beyond 6 figures on just that marketing avenue alone. You're talking about property management companies that are out there working with investors who don't know how to buy and sell real estate. They just know how to manage.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I like it. All right. Do you have a second part, or do you just, I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Guys, that's a lot.
I wish I could give you the secret recipe sauce to do this, but there is none. Like, it's just doing the boring stuff, doing the stuff that's going to the property management companies, talking to realtors, talking to attorneys. If you have marketing, then get involved in the launch controls and the batch dialers and grow your team that way. Pull lists off of PropStream. That's kind of where we get list source. We also use a little bit. Then you go that route, but you don't have to do that if you just want to get to 6 figures. If you want to get to 7 figures, you need a team. If you want to get beyond 7 figures, you need a system and process. But it doesn't have to be complicated. I'm not going to overcomplicate it, because it doesn't have to be, you guys. You can go out and make a lot of money in this stuff, help a lot of people, leave a big impact. And while you gain traction, you get involved with the level up groups. They show you kind of how to do this, how to do that, how to organize your stuff in your companies. They've done that drastically for me. So I preach on these guys. They will get you to 7 figures on a consistent basis, but 6 figures, multiple 6 figures in a year does not take any more than an ambition, a drive, and just getting in front of the right people with the right resources and selling your vision.
Couldn't have said better myself. Chris, I really appreciate you coming on the call. Just before we wrap up, I think you kind of did leave some last words, but think of one sentence, maybe two, that you'd like to leave listeners with. What I would say, really summing up Chris's call, is if you haven't gotten started in real estate and whatever, or even if you're just thinking like, I should do this, it's like I listened to a Tony Robbins video today, and it was like, what are your shoulds and what are your must? It's like, if you should do real estate and you really think that that's what you need to do, but you must get your family in a better situation, you must get yourself in a better financial position, whatever it is, you got to shift the shoulds to be must if they're that important to you, and then you will do it and you will get it done. But take that first action. So Chris, I'll leave it up to you. What do you want to leave the listeners with here today?
So this is something that's one of my favorite sayings. It gives me chills. This is something that I heard in the sports. One of a coach said this to me, and it was right before a game. And man, I've never been so pumped up. But he looked at me dead in my eyes and he goes, "Don't sell your life away to be ordinary. Don't settle for the bare minimum." And that kind of feeds into the Tony Robbins from the shoulds and the musts. Yes, you should not be living on the streets. I'm not saying go out and start a company when you have $0. Don't be like me unless, hey, if you're willing to just bounce back in and live with your parents and do that and, eat their food, by all means. Hell, I did that for a very long time. And then, but if you don't have that, and if that's not aligned with your values, you're not, in that mindset, your should be, what do you desire? What is it that you want out of life? And it doesn't always have to be 7 figures. It doesn't have to be this glorious company. It could simply be that you just want to be able to, go out and enjoy a round of golf when you want through the week, or, you want to go to a restaurant and buy that steak and not have to worry about the cost of it. It could just be the fact of like, hey, I want to make sure that I have a safety net in case somebody, gets a health issue in my family. I want to be there to take care of them. It could be anything, guys. Your mission behind your life can be whatever means the most to you. I think that's, with me, it's just like, I never want to see my family ever go through a foreclosure or things like that. So that's what feeds me into real estate. But your shoulds and your musts should align with your core values. Should you be out there partying every weekend if you want to have financial freedom? Obviously not. Your must should be sitting at home, reading books, studying people on YouTube, going over documents, looking how you can improve your life. Those are the musts. And hopefully that clears it up. I don't know really much about shoulds and musts unless I go into depth on mine. Because my shoulds and musts are probably much different from the average 24-year-old. I just turned 24. But sacrifice for me has probably been the most. I should sacrifice most leisures in life just because I wanted to get somewhere, and it was a must for me to get somewhere and put myself first to get to where I wanted to be in life before I could start helping others. It came kind of simultaneously in my life through the power of real estate. So, like I said, I bought some houses for my family members, which I just never thought I could do at 24 years old, 23 years old. It's insane.
That's super cool, bro. I love it. Appreciate you coming on, man. I'm sure that we'll be seeing more of you potentially on this show. So with that said, we will see you guys next week.
For sure.
Appreciate you, Chris.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on socials as well.
Oh, yeah. Chris, how can everyone reach out to you?
Instagram, you can find me just at Chris Crothers. TikTok, same thing. Kind of just been trying to pump out some value and some video content there. Trying to keep up with Gino and Chandler, man. They're just dropping bombs, it seems like, on their platform. So if you guys want to reach out from that way, please do so. I'll answer any questions you guys have. Would love to be a solution solver, a problem solver for you if you have any hiccups. And yeah, I'm always down to network and meet new people. So
sounds good, man. All right, appreciate it. Reach out to Chris. He'll definitely help you out.
Good, Chandler.
Dude's a killer. Peace.
Bye.